Hello everyone and welcome to the Transit Nomad family. What I love about Budapest as a tourist and how long to stay. Before we get started, I'd like to let you know that I'm currently in Budapest, Hungary for a few weeks, and at the end of this trip, I'll be recording my final verdict video, comparing Budapest with other cities to help you decide if you should visit, while also saving you lots of time and money with practical tips on how to get the most out of your trip. This will be an exclusive video, but you can easily gain access to it by subscribing or donating any amount on buymeacoffee.com/transitnomad or through the link in the video description below. With that being said, we are currently located at Heroes Square. The construction of this square began in 1896 to honor a 1,000-year anniversary of founding Hungary, and there are 7 monuments that represent the rulers of the 7 tribes that founded Hungary over 1,000 years ago. It is a very beautiful square. Architecture is very impressive, and this brings me to the first point I'd like to mention is Hungarian architecture in Budapest in particular is very impressive. Words cannot describe how beautiful the buildings are and how eye-pleasing it is to walk around the city. Honestly, you don't even have to do too much planning. You can just walk around the central part of the city and always see something beautiful, no matter which way you look. And the good news is that the city center is very big and there's a lot to see. It's not going to be possible to cover it in 1 day or 2 days. And this brings me to the second point. Do not repeat the mistakes of a lot of people who come here for a day or two. It's not enough to see the city. It's not enough to cover even the most important attractions. I recommend staying at least a week or longer if you can, if you really want to feel the energy of the city and explore everything that it has to offer. There are so many museums and landmarks and beautiful buildings, restaurants, shops, malls, cafes, different kinds of entertainment venues, concert halls, excellent nature, parks, you name it. You can find so many things to do here in Budapest, and it takes a while to see it all. So I recommend staying at least a week or longer if you can. What else do I like in this city? Well, I can't help but mention public transportation. Out of all the cities that I have visited over the years in Europe, in Asia, and the United States, I have to say that Budapest has one of the best public transportation systems I've seen anywhere in the world. The frequencies are very high, so you don't have to wait for buses, trams, trolley buses, or metro trains. You don't have to wait for more than a couple of minutes, a few minutes at the most. They are very efficient. They have their own dedicated lanes that are often separated from cars, which means getting from A to B is usually very fast, and you can predict how long it's going to take. Usually it takes only about 15 minutes depending on where you are and where you're going. It's very quick, it's very reliable, it's very punctual. The operating hours are also great. There are several lines that run 24/7, making it possible for you to get around the city easily and affordably, no matter how late at night it is or how early in the morning it is. Generally speaking, public transportation experience here is just a pure joy. I wish that other cities could learn from Budapest as far as how to create an efficient system like this. I mentioned architecture already, but let's take another look at this beautiful square. It's so beautiful and so impressive. And the thing is that it's only one of the many beautiful squares, beautiful neighborhoods, beautiful buildings that are worth looking at in this city. It has so much to explore. It's just amazing how they can maintain all this stuff in such a good shape. That is another thing I wanted to mention is I appreciate the way Hungarians take care of their city. Everything is in a fairly good shape. It's well taken care of, and most buildings look relatively nice and clean, and it's just such a joy walking around, even if you don't go inside, if you're just exploring city streets. Another thing I like is that it's relatively safe and comfortable and clean for the most part. not just because they take care of it, but also because they have security officers. And also I feel that Hungarians, they are just very respectful people in general. They know how to take care of things, and they know how to welcome tourists. This city and this country has been welcoming tourists for many decades. It's been one of the most popular destinations in Europe, especially Central Europe, and because of that, they know how to treat tourists with a very welcoming attitude, making them feel comfortable and making sure that the trip is worth it, so that people come back and hopefully spend more money here. And this is, of course, is good for the economy, and it's good for just generally, it makes people happy. I think Hungary is a very good destination in terms of tourism. The only thing that I would say I'm not a big fan of is the fact that you have to pay for public restrooms, for toilets. It's very difficult to find any free toilets in this city. It's actually almost impossible. Even if you go to fast food chains like McDonald's, usually you need to have a code, or you need to order something, or you have to pay. So it's something to keep in mind. They do have some free water fountains at some locations. I recommend checking out their Budapest Go app, which is very helpful for public transportation, and it's also helpful when it comes to locating public restrooms and water fountains. But while water fountains are free, public restrooms are usually they usually require a payment, and some of them do not accept cards. So it might be a good idea to have some cash with you just in case as well. Another thing I love in Budapest is that how friendly it is for people who like to walk. If you like walking around and exploring cities on foot without having to drive, this is definitely a great destination. Not only it has good public transportation, but also it has a very good infrastructure for pedestrians. You can basically find lots of streets where there are no cars at all, where it's very quiet, and there are lots of stores and lots of beautiful buildings and shops. And the only thing you do there is you walk around and explore. You don't have to worry about any cars around. This specific area, we are crossing the bridge that is shared. Pedestrians and cars are sharing this space, but if you walk a little bit more, there are a lot of bridges that are just for pedestrians. So if you love walking around, this is definitely a good destination. Another thing I love about Budapest is the affordability. The prices are relatively affordable, especially if you compare it with other famous cities in Western Europe, such as London or Paris, or even some cities in Italy, not to mention Switzerland, of course. Budapest is not the cheapest city. It's more expensive than cities like Bucharest in Romania or Sofia in Bulgaria. I can feel maybe 20% difference on average when it comes to the cost of things. Maybe food is a little bit more expensive than 20%, but generally speaking, the accommodation prices are fairly affordable. You can find budget hotels starting at around $50 American dollars per day, and of course it goes up depending on where you're located and what you're trying to accomplish, what kind of amenities you're looking for, how big the room is, whether it has air conditioning and all that stuff, how private it is. But generally speaking, there are lots of options for under $100 per day. You're gonna have many different options in many different parts of town, whereas in Western European cities like Paris or London, everything is usually double. So for that amount, you might only be able to find like a room that you have to share with other people, or an apartment that you share with other people. But in this case, you can have something completely private, and chances are it's going to be higher quality and give you better value. So affordability is definitely a major factor when it comes to deciding where you want to go, and I think Budapest offers good value overall. Although I do have to mention that their food prices are not as cheap as I was expecting, especially if you want to eat at restaurants. It's not as cheap as I thought it would be. Supermarkets such as Lidl are still relatively affordable, but if you eat outside, I think the average cost would be around 15 or maybe even 20 euros, especially if you're in the city center, per meal per person, which is actually pretty close to the average cost of eating outside in many Western European cities or even the United States. I was expecting it to be cheaper, maybe like some other Eastern European countries, but when it comes to eating out, Budapest is not as affordable as you might expect. So keep that in mind. But the good news is that if you want to save money, you can just go to a Lidl or other budget supermarket chains. They also have Aldi, which is another great option, and that can give you a really good value. Take a look at this beautiful castle. That is another thing I wanted to mention. It kind of goes along with the architecture, but they have a lot of castles that are very beautiful, very impressive, and many parts of these castles are completely free to enter and explore, which I think is very generous, and it is such an amazing experience. I know it looks okay on video, but when you are here in person and you are walking around these places, it just feels like you are in a magic fairy tale. It takes you back in time. It makes you feel all kinds of things, from nostalgia to excitement and everything in between. I think that Budapest is such a great city for exploring castles and architecture, and this is actually the place where we are located right now. It's called City Park. It is a huge park, and it has so much stuff inside this park, many different museums and concert halls, and even thermal baths, some of the most famous ones in the city. That is another thing that is offered here. Also, this beautiful church is available here, and it's also free to enter. Really impressive place to explore. It's called City Park. Make sure to look it up because it's just a little bit outside of the city center. I think some visitors might miss it. That's why it's not as crowded as some of the other places in the actual city center. So I mentioned the buildings, the pedestrian infrastructure, the beautiful architecture, the great public transportation, the affordable prices. I also mentioned that I really appreciate Hungarians, how friendly and welcoming they are. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I may have missed. I did mention that I did not appreciate the fact that you have to pay for toilets because you're already paying for a lot of things when you travel and you explore the city, walking around, and it just feels a little bit, if you're not used to it. I'm from the United States. We don't have this kind of thing, having to pay for toilets everywhere, but it takes some time to get used to it. I guess it might be worth it if you look at the bigger picture. But other than that, to be perfectly honest, I think Budapest is a great destination. I do think that it's a very big city in terms of everything that it has to offer and all the entertainment and all the places to visit and all the things to do. I recommend taking a look at my channel so you can have an idea of everything it has to offer and maybe prepare for your trip accordingly. But basically my main point is try to stay as long as you can. I came here for a few days and it was not enough, so I decided to come back, and this time I booked it for the whole month, and I think this is much more appropriate for this beautiful city. Again, I've traveled to lots of famous cities in Europe, and I think Budapest is one of the best destinations where you can see the most, where you're gonna feel the best experience traveling and exploring and learning about the culture and the history. That is one last thing I wanted to mention is Austro-Hungarian Empire was known for, and is still known for its art, dedication to art, music, culture, and architecture. And you can feel this kind of vibe here when you're walking around, when you're exploring it. Hungarians take pride, and they have every right to be proud of it. And if you like to explore everything or anything that has to do with art and culture and music, if you like to go to concerts, if you like to admire amazing views that have a historical meaning, whether it's buildings or parks or some halls or churches, Budapest is a great destination and I can't recommend it enough, especially if you stay longer so you can explore everything at your own pace without being in a rush. And by the way, as a little bonus, they also have old school cute little trams that you can enjoy riding and seeing the city. If you're tired of walking around, you just hop on that tram and it's gonna take you through the city streets and you're gonna see it from a different angle, which is going to also feel very magical and entertaining. With that being said, I would like to remind you that as an active traveler and business owner with experience, I might be able to assist you with trip planning, life coaching, and business consulting, with all the details available at buymeacoffee.com/transitnomad or through the link in the video description below. This is where you can also find lots of exclusive content on many different cities around the world, my secret tips, PDF guides, and the option to request a custom video on any topic that matters to you. Thank you everyone for watching, commenting, liking, and subscribing. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.